Okay, Baruch Hashem, here we go. It's so good to be back in the Tanya, and this is going to be for the mature and motivated. I want to move deeper and move through the Tanya this year, B'siyat D'Shmaya, and to people to make a kinyan on these concepts. The main idea of the Tanya is a guidebook for your soul. A systematic guidebook to understand how your soul works, the power of your soul, understand your lower, darker side, your animal soul, how this godly soul that's pushing you to do good things and meaningful things and have loving relationships and be a compassionate person, and a patient person, and somebody who wants to bring godliness into the world, that's the real you. And at the same time, God gave you an external part, which is your instincts, your animalistic soul, which basically wants you to be selfish, wants you to do things for immediate gratification, wants you to just do what's going to be good for you right now. And we call it Nefesh Bahamis, which one of my old students said, all the Nefesh Bahamis wants to do is go to the Bahamas and just chill out, and just whatever, relax. And then there's a part inside you that has to choose between the two. You wake up in the morning, it's early. What's the first thing that goes on in your head? But then there's a part of you that says, Slichus, do something meaningful with your life. But then there's this other part, but I'm so tired. And we're going to learn some of the tactics of this animal soul that speaks in that language and convinces you that you are the animal soul. The reason is, which we're going to learn a lot about, is that it's very close to you. The animal soul is very close. It's the part of you that animates your eating, your drinking, your sleeping. It's very dear, it's very close. And it feels like there's a far distant voice that says, but the right thing to do is to wake up. That far distant voice is actually really who you are. And over the course of your life, it's to make that voice more real. To make that voice more the actual reality of life. The Baal Tanya wrote the Tanya as this guidebook, like we were explaining, in order to help us to navigate, to identify with our soul, our godly soul, and not with our animal soul. In order to do that, he's going to explain how creation works. He's going to explain how all the spiritual worlds work. He's going to take us into a Kabbalistic model of the universe. And after all of that explanation, he's going to show us how we can tap into our godly soul using Kabbalistic meditations and practical advice for our generation. Another point of introduction, the Baal Tanya wrote this sefer, one of its kind, as a series of pamphlets that were handed out to the community, which he started to do because he was meeting with people 24/7 who needed his life advice, and it became not possible because tens, really hundreds of thousands were seeking his counsel. So he didn't have time. He wasn't able to give to everybody, and would meet with them privately one-on-one. So he said, I know it's not the same, but I'm going to write all of your questions that you've asked me over the course of this lifetime. And I'm going to provide all the answers to all your questions. And he wrote it with a Ruach HaKodesh. He would cry for weeks over letters. Should there be a Vav here or not a Vav? This was all written by the Baal Tanya in order to be a guidebook through the generations, that people, all the questions that they had for their life, that they would be able to find comfort and answers to those questions. This is not something that's like, let's just like check this out, and it'll be like a nice self-help book. I'll read it once, it'll be great. This is something, a lifetime of understanding the model of the universe in order to have clarity on all the deepest questions of life. What's my purpose in life? How do I overcome my base desires? How can I become a better husband, a better father? How can I be someone who doesn't succumb to his taivas? How can I be somebody that's committed to living a meaningful life? Where is my soul? How do I access it? Why do bad things happen to good people? Everything is in here. It's a model that he's going to build on. Okay? That's the introduction, Rabbi Isai. Let's jump in. I want to just see the intro page. It's this very religious looking page called the Sharblat. The part we're going to see was actually written by the Baba Tanya, and like I mentioned, we're going to be moving in the Tanya. We're going to be moving the Siyat D'Shmai. Sefer Likutei Amarim, the Baba Tanya was written, the Tanya was written as basically, Likutei Amarim means a collection of sayings. Chelik Rishon, it's the first of 5 books. Hanikra b'shem Sefer Shel Beinanim, the book of the in-betweeners. There's 5 types of members of Klal Yisrael. He brings together 2 Gemaras and Brachas. Tzadik v'toivloi, Tzadik v'raloi, Rasha v'toivloi, Rasha v'raloi, and a Beinani. Meaning a Tzadik that has good to him, a Tzadik that has bad to him, a Rasha that has good to him, and a Rasha that has bad to him, and this Beinani.
What does Beinani?
Beinani doesn't just mean like an average guy. Beinani, as we're going to understand from the Tanya, means like a super heroic Jew or member of humanity that essentially his godly soul is pushing him to do good, his animalistic taivas are pushing him to do selfish things. He's in the middle, and he's always able to overcome the animal soul. However, he keeps getting bombarded by the animal soul. The Beinani is the warrior. The Beinani is the warrior. The tzaddik in the world of the Baba Tanya doesn't even have a fight. He's no longer tempted. The Beinani is tempted but never falls. So if I were to see a tzaddik and a Beinani on the outside, would they look any different one from the next?
No. I would think so. I think it's tzaddik versus like some shmuel, not like some shmuel on the street, but some random guy on the street. I would think that there's a difference between how they both look.
So when it comes to the tzaddik and the Beinani, they look exactly the same. Where's the difference then between the tzaddik and the Beinani? The internal struggle. The tzaddik is not struggling anymore. So you might say, but has he lost his free will? The answer is, he has a different job in this world. The Beinani is activating very high level free will all the time. The Beinani is a warrior. The Beinani is not like your average guy. Like, oh yeah, he's like average. You know, he like learns pretty good, and then like, you know, watches some Netflix and binges on that a little bit, and then he like picks himself up. The Beinani is on fire. The Beinani is on fire. So everyone's like, ooh, I guess what's the other? You know, what's left? Don't get down on yourselves. Don't worry. We're going to see that even the Rosh V'Toivloi is a very, very high level. And our job, as the Baal Tanya is going to point out, is that we can all become a Beinani. You might say, aren't I supposed to be a tzaddik? Like, don't we tell our kids you're going to be a big tzaddik one day? So the borrowed expression of tzaddik, yes. But the true expression, the true meaning of the word, if our kids are Beinanis, woo, we will be very successful parents. Okay? Sefer Shel Beinanim. Maluk nipi Sfarim pi Seifrim. It's been gathered together from Sfarim and Seifrim. Sfarim generally refers to the Shlach Kodesh and the Maral. And the Seifrim means his Rebbe's. The main Rabbanim of the Baal Tanya was the Magid and the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov came to him in Chaloimus, and he also met the Baal Shem. Kadosha Elyon, Nishmasam Eden. Their neshamas are in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden. Miyusad al Posuk, the whole Sefer is based on the following verse. Ki karve lecha davar me'od. For the matter is very, very close to you. Beficha u'bilavav chalas leisay. In your mouth and in your heart to do it. A Posuk from Devarim, Lamed, I believe this week's parsha. Ki karve lecha davar me'od. Eitan Katz, the beautiful rendition of that Posuk. Beautiful, actually. Wow, so nice. Which is an interesting verse. It's very, very close to you. The Machlokes in the Rishonim, is that talking about Torah or Tshuva? We're going to see in the Baal Tanya, it's referring to the ability to overcome your base desires. Everybody can do that. Everybody can do that. lever hativ, to explain very, very well. Ech hu karav me'od. How is it very close? Beficha means talking. Bilavavcha means my feelings, my thoughts. Lasais means my actions. Which means I understand how my actions I could get under control. I even understand how my speech I can get under control, right? If you really, I don't want to say any Lashon Hara, I don't want to say Lashon Hara, I don't want to say, you can, speeches, but even your heart and your thoughts, that you can control, the answer is yes. The Baal HaTanya is going to teach you, you and every one of us can control our thoughts. Could you imagine that? You can be a master of your thoughts and a master of your emotions. You can control them. Not to just be at the whim of just, what can I do? I'm a slave to my thoughts. A very important teaching in Chassidus is, you are deeper than your thoughts. Your thoughts are not you. Your thoughts are not you. You are much deeper than your thoughts. And he's going to explain this to us. B'derech harucha v'ktsar. The Gemara in Eruvin, Nun Gimel Amud Beis, the famous Gemara of Yeshua ben Hanania. I'll just mention the Gemara that you should look it up. Famous Gemara in Eruvin. Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania, he was a famous, it's a funny way to say it, famous rabbi. He was known that if there ever was a debate amongst the heretics and the Jews, they would always pick Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania to defend the faith. He was like our Rabbi Berger. Put your best guy up there to defend the faith. And they would have some, galach or whatever, and he'd come and he would make his position, and then the rabbi, and that was a famous pastime amongst the emperors, was to get the rabbi and get the pagan, the worshiper, to fight it out. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Hanania said in the Gemara he never lost. And the truth is he never lost. He was always able to have very, very intelligent ways, and he always won. Now, you wanted to win those debates, because you know what happened if you lost. Yeah, exactly. So, he said, I never lost except for one time I lost. What's that? He said, I was walking down the path, and there was a Parshas Drachim, which means a split in the road, and I saw a young boy there. I was trying to get to the palace. And I said to the young boy, I said, how do you get to the palace? He said, well, do you want the short, long way or the long, short way? He said, come again, please. The short, long way or the long... it's short. What, right? The short... Yeah, you say short, long way. I guess if it's short... Yeah, short, long way. You want that one? Okay. So very short, he got to the palace. But when he got to the palace, he realized he was in very thick bushes, and he got caught in a place where he couldn't get out. And after a very long time, he had to make his way all the way back, and he ended up back in the fork in the road. And he told the boy, I thought you told me the short way. I told you the short, long way. So what's the long, short way? Oh, the long, short way. It took him a very long time, but when he got to the palace, he got right to the gates, and he walked right in to go see the king. So the Baal HaTanya says, I'm going to be teaching you the short, long way and the long, short way. The short, long way is when we go through this world thinking we're going to get quick fixes. Quick fixes. 5 easy tips to go to the world to come. Stay tuned. And just do this, and that, and just, it'll be all good. Everything in Torah belief is that there's no quick fixes. Everything is long, but when you work hard, you realize that you actually changed. And you became a different person. That's the name of the game. Really working hard. So the Baal HaTanya says, it's going to be a long trek ahead. But I'm going to get you to the end of the story that you're going to be standing by the gates of the palace, and then you're going to walk in to see the king. But if you try to do these quick fixes in this world, it might look like you got some nice highs, it was very nice, you did a few substances, it was beautiful, it was great. But up there, you'll realize that you're still very, very far. So it's better to do the long work down here in this world, and then when you get up there, you made it in, than to do the quick fixes down here, spend the rest of your time in the Bahamas, feeling like I got it done. I'm spiritually awakened. I just had to pay the guru some money and it's all good. It's long work. It's long work, but then when you get up there, you're by the gates of the palace. And he ends Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. That's the entire introduction to the Tanya. Let's begin for 2 minutes. Perak Aleph Tanya. The first page. By the way, all the Tanyas, the Chabadniks are very, very particular. They should be in a certain surah. They should look a certain way. That's why there was a certain discussion if people wanted to change it. This is the standard. Perak Aleph Tanya. The Tanya is about to ask a number of questions, which each one of these is going to be bombs and going to be enough that you should spend months thinking about. But I want to move this year through the Tanya, and therefore I'm going to leave a lot of it for you guys to have to fight out over dinner time. The milchik dinners in Yeshatayr. Okay? You'll add some fleishiks to the dinner by talking Tanya over dinner. Okay? Tanya. B'Saif Perak Gimel de Nida, the Gemara there in Nida on Lamed Days brings the following Maimon Chazal. It's talking about what happens to a child while it's in the mother's womb. Chazal knew what was going on, as we have a tradition from Mount Sinai, what goes on in the womb of the mother to the child. It talks about the child has a candle over its head and can see from one end of the world to the other, learns the whole Torah, these Gemaras. And it says that something happens before the child comes down into the world, and this happened to all of us. Okay, you may or may not remember this, but it happened. So the Gemara says, Mashpi'in Oisai, you are made to take an oath. An oath? I took an oath? Yeah, you took an oath in your mother's womb. What's the oath? Tiyat tzaddik v'al tiyah rasha. Be a tzaddik and don't be a rasha, which itself is a question because it doesn't imply mechlal lav et hashem yahein mehein lav. If I'm a tzaddik, doesn't it mean I'm not a rasha? Why does it have to say both parts? Tanai kafel. Be a tzaddik and don't be a rasha. V'afilu kol ha'olam kulo yom l'chad tzaddik ata. And even if the whole world says you're a tzaddik, you're gevaldik, hay beinecha karasha. You should be in your eyes kir rasha. That kir is very important. You should probably underline that kir. Kir rasha. You should be like a rasha. Okay, what's going on? We took an oath. Who can say the oath back? Be a tzaddik, don't be a rasha. And then if anybody says that you're a tzaddik, say, nah, I'm a rasha. Kir rasha. Okay, very good. Kir rasha.
Tell them that?
Yeah. Well, you don't necessarily tell them that, but you should see in your own eyes. They're like, what a tzaddik. You're like, nah. In your own head, you're like, no, I'm not. So the Baal HaTanya is going to ask a kasha. Just that oath itself has what to think about. Then he's going to ask a kasha, though. He's going to bring a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. V'tzarech lahavin. You notice the Baal HaTanya doesn't say kasha. In Chassidus is a big Indian. There's no kashas. There's just chaser havana. We just don't understand. There's no kashas. Hashem doesn't have kasha. We just lack the understanding. So it says the Baal HaTanya, v'tzarech lahavin, we need to understand. The hatanan, but it says in a Mishnah, al tia rasha b'fnei atzmacha. Don't be a rasha in your own eyes. You don't see yourself like a rasha. Don't see yourself like a wicked person. Now, this, what the Baal HaTanya just presented, a chazal that says, people tell you you're a tzaddik, you should see yourself like a rasha. The Mishnah says what? Never see yourself as a rasha. That no Rishon talks about this. They say this kasha, it's not a kasha, tzarech lahavin, was waiting for the Baal HaTanya. This is called the famous kasha of the Baal HaTanya. These two chazals. Should I see myself as a wicked person, or should I not see myself as a wicked person? To sum it up, what should be my inner self-talk as a yid? What's my inner image? How do I see myself? So in the beginning, I have two chazals that say different things. That in itself is a stir minei ubein, chazal. Says the Baal HaTanya, not only is it a problem in chazal, he brings a psychological problem. That's why the Tanya sits on the shelves of the great psychologists and therapists and counselors of the world, because they know the Baal HaTanya understood human psychology is better than anybody. Says the Baal HaTanya, the gam means there's another problem. Im yeh be'einav karash, if you see yourself as a rasha, yireh lavavoi, you're going to get brokenhearted, v'yeh otziv, and you're going to become depressed, chas v'shalom, v'lo yachol lavoi d'Hashem b'simcha, b'tuv leivav. And a Yid's got to serve Hashem b'simcha, and with a good heart. Which means the Baal Tanya is taking on as a given. Yidin or freilich. Yidin a lebedik. Simcha. Right? So if somebody walks around all day, I'm a Russia. You can't be a lebediker. You can't be a simcha-dik person. Yidin or simcha-dik. That's the way we should be. Freilich. Lebedik. So not only is there a problem theologically, a kash and chazal, the Gemara Nida, Lamed Ambei, and the Mishnah and Pirkei Avos. Not only is there a problem there, there's a psychological flaw, which is we should never see ourselves as wicked, because then we're going to get down and depressed. Which means what? Should I not see myself at all as bad? What could happen then? You could become haughty, you won't improve.
Atheist.
Maybe an atheist. Yeah, I can do no wrong. I think you just hurt that girl's feelings. Nah, she deserved it. You monster. You monster. If a guy doesn't think he does anything wrong, that's also a problem. So what's the balance? What's the inner self-talk? Says the Baal Tanya. But if you don't have any sense of a broken heart, the guy can become very lightheaded and just basically make everything, whatever. Make it light of all situations. That's also not a good thing. So the Baal Tanya is introduced, and now you guys have it. The famous kash of the Baal Tanya. What is my inner self-image of myself? When I look at myself in the mirror, what should I see? How should I look at myself? As a tzaddik? As a tzaddik? As a Rasha? Well, can't be a Rasha because the Mishnah said don't be a Rasha. But then it told me that I should see myself. Even if everybody tells you you're a tzaddik, you should look at yourself like a Rasha. But then he went further and said, but wait a second, if you see yourself in a negative light, then you're not going to be a lebediker. You can't do that. That's not the way to serve Hashem. But you can't see yourself totally as perfect, because then what's going to happen? Come to Kalas Rush. So the Baal Tanya has opened up a can of worms, which is, how do I see myself? What should be my constant inner self-image of who am I? Who am I? We've basically opened up stage one of the Tanya, B'ezrat Hashem. I want you to have a wonderful day, to be continued, B'ezrat Hashem, Kol Tuv.